We are recording.
Hello and welcome to the No One Asked You podcast. For this particular series, I am joined by my wonderful co-host, Matt Darnkite.
Dorkus and I are both going into the story completely new with almost no knowledge of the story or world.
Each segment, we intend to cover what happens in each new chapter and discuss our experience along the way.
Hold on to your butts, because this is Ascension Unleashed, a blind read-through, and today we will be covering Chapter 17.
Chapter 17! So, I messaged Kitty about this chapter with my notes, as I tend to.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those notes was, I do not like the Watcher. To which she responded, and she doesn't usually respond to my notes. Kitty, would you like to say what you responded with?
I like the Watcher. Can you hear my smile? I really do like the Watcher.
And I really do not. So this is going to be a fun episode to record.
It is. It's one of our biggest differences. So let's see.
Indeed. But yeah, we get some Elend being proud of Vin, right?
Yes, who would have thunk that Vin's actually got pretty handwriting? Yeah.
Yeah, that has to be a crush-based comment, yeah?
I don't know. I guess it would be comical that she's like, oh, it's scratchings, and then he's like, wow, this is beautiful. Yeah, I think he's got rose-tinted glasses for the handwriting. There's still hope because I want to be like Vin because my handwriting's horrible. So,
So
I want it to be I want it to be relatable. Come on, Vin, and show off.
And Vin gets to see the new uniform.
Mm-hmm. I can't believe I didn't think of the kind of reaction that she did have because Vin is Vin. So,
yeah, such a Vin
reaction.
We'll get to that one.
She's like a cat.
Yep.
What is it? Anyway, yeah.
And then we get a Watcher contest, if you will.
It was great. Obviously,
Indeed.
That's where we'll differ. Well, yeah, we'll see if you at least the action. Did you like? I'm sure you would like.
Oh yeah,
action.
great fight scene, great contest, to be certain. But well, we'll get into it. If only the terrorist religion and belief in the anticipation hadn't spread beyond our people.
All right. Yeah. Have we had mention of the anticipation before?
No, I believe this is new lore.
Mm-hmm. Anticipation with a capital A. So we have the name of our prophecy, I suppose.
You think the word anticipation here with the capital A is the prophecy?
Yeah, like we are in anticipation for the Hero of Ages. It has the ring of, in I think Catholicism, they've got the same thing with the creed that they have at the end of their creed. It's like wait in anticipation for the return of Christ. So it's kind of that's the vibe that I got from that.
Interesting.
What do you think it is? It's just what do you think it refers to?
Well, I assumed that the terrorist prophecies were referred to as the terrorist prophecies. So my first instinct was anticipation was the coming deepness, or the coming end of the world.
That makes way more sense because they literally said the terrorist prophecies, and it wouldn't have been the terrorist prophecies of the anticipated. It would have said of instead of and. Yeah.
But hearing it that way in reference to the coming of the Messiah, I definitely see that as well. So
yeah, I don't know what do you think of the word anticipation? Because anticipation, are you hoping for something with anticipation? I guess it can be either. It's just waiting for something.
Something to wait for, yeah.
Whether it's good or bad, yeah.
Yeah. And
also, okay, so Quan is saying if only the belief didn't go beyond our people. So what, then it would be easier for, well, then Alendi wouldn't have as much sway?
That's what I was thinking, yes.
Because now it's harder to rein him in because there's more people believing in it.
Exactly. This runaway mistake from Kwan's perspective, has gotten too big. It has involved too many people. This isn't something that will just be snuffed out, kind of a thing.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing as well, is that it went beyond. I wonder if Kwan at any point understood that it went beyond Alendi, that it actually just went into, it took off. Like you said, it ran away with him. And then Alendi at the end, we always remind everybody that, you know, he was just like, well, if it must be someone, so it might as well be me. You know, someone else will come if this isn't correct.
Right.
So I wonder whether Kwan, because I don't know, also sense just some just such regret. Yeah, he's angry.
Yep. I'm still, what's the word? I'm hesitant to, I'm not sure what to make of Kwan's moral character. I'm really not sure. Now, maybe, because I think I'm viewing Alendi in a similar way to Vin, how Vin views Alendi, I mean. And I think I have empathy. I mean, I'm more familiar with Alendi and his inner struggle, so I have this like of him. And Kwan is still very much this mysterious figure. I'm still thinking about what he was saying about his own grand designs, his schemes, what's he planning, bro?
Yeah,
kind of a thing. So
he's as yet ambiguous.
I'm not feeling necessarily antagonistic toward him, but I'm very, very wary of what it is that he has to say.
We have anticipation for finding out what kind of guy Kwan is. So hurry up, Sazit. Yeah. Well, I guess that's it. Yeah. If only, is there any relation to bring to this chapter? What's happening now?
Well, Vin feels a tremendous amount of anticipation for her next meeting with the Watcher, I suppose.
Yeah. Spread beyond our people. It's tenuous. Maybe we can see while we go through it again if there's any sort of strong connection. I'm just like, yeah, there's just that anticipation. That's as close as I can get at the moment.
I'm unsure.
Let's get into it.
The piles of paper seemed to multiply as Vin found more and more ideas in the logbook that she wanted to isolate and remember. What were the prophecies about the hero of ages? How did the logbook author know where to go, and what did he think he'd have to do when he got there? Eventually, lying amid the mess, overlapping piles turned in odd directions to keep them separate, Vin acknowledged a distasteful fact. She was going to have to take notes.
I laughed out loud.
Same.
When I read that, I was like, I actually laughed a lot in this chapter. Yeah, I laughed out loud. I lolled, guys. Yeah. Just the Vin of it all. She is just so endearing. She's like, I just imagined her face just like looking down at these piles and just going, okay, fine, I have to take notes. And just the
resignation.
Yeah, just that. And she's like, I guess I'm gonna have to be like everybody else. You know,
yep. And the intersection here of Vin becoming a little bit more like Elend and Elend becoming a little bit more like Vin.
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me. Did Vin and Tindwell ever have that conversation?
Yeah, I'm wondering because we had Vin basically bring other terrorist people in to confirm Tindwell's
trustworthiness.
Credit. Yeah, but we haven't had the conversation ourselves of them having spoken alone. So I would feel like that would be an important part for him to include, not to have that happen off screen, if you know what I'm saying.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking too.
And it hasn't happened.
How long is it going to be until then? And I was just wondering about that scene or what that scene will be lately. And I'm wondering if it's going to be Tindwell convincing Vin to be a queen, to accept the marriage proposal, and to take it upon herself to hold Elend to task, to make sure that he remains kingly. What do you think?
Well, we had in the previous chapter, remember we had, basically she's like, you view me as a placeholder. He said you view me as a placeholder, and she agreed. But she did say he could be a king. So she has hope for him. So I'm unsure of what she would want from Vin. I guess if she wants Elend to continue being kingly, I think she would want Vin to support that, and like you said, take him to task, hold him to task, something like that. But otherwise, it's like, does she have other designs, like Queen Vin, and Vin is better for the
Well,
realm?
I don't mean make Vin the leader. I mean accept the marriage proposal and be therefore queen. Yeah.
No, that's what I mean. I'm saying, like, would she just put her in that position to see, you know, how she works out? Maybe she is a better leader. I don't think so.
Correct.
I don't know. I think there will be conflict though, because nobody's going to tell Vin what to do. So yeah, it's not going to go well.
Agreed.
And I don't think Vin is going to be more noble lady, or she might be tempted to do it because she still thinks about dresses and things like that. I think she still liked that part of her life.
But there's too many very real threats going on right now.
Yeah, like this, and people can hold on to your dress and things like that if you know, it's a liability. So
with a sigh, she rose and crossed the room, stepping carefully over several stacks and approaching the room's desk. She'd never used it before. In fact, she'd complained about it to Elend. What need did she have of a writing desk? So she'd thought. She selected a pen, then pulled out a little jar of ink, remembering the days when Reen had taught her to write. He'd quickly grown frustrated with her scratchings, complaining about the cost of ink and paper. He'd taught her to read so that she could decipher contracts and imitate a noblewoman, but he'd thought that writing was less useful. In general, Vin shared this opinion. But writing apparently had uses, even if one wasn't a scribe.
Sorry, I just thought that was so funny. She's like, writing is useful. Yes, but...
Elend was always scribbling notes and memos to himself. She'd often been impressed by how quickly he could write. How did he make the letters come so easily? She grabbed a couple of blank sheets of paper and walked back over to her sorted piles. She sat down with crossed legs and unscrewed the top of the ink bottle. Now, I will say, at that point, I did have a cute image of my mind of the two of them working together, with Vin dictating her thoughts to Elend and Elend writing them down.
Yeah, that would have been better, yeah.
He's probably too busy, but...
Yeah, hey, we are. That's exactly what I was about to say, is that, like, he would be interested if he had the time, but he's not. She needs to do the writing herself.
Yeah. Mistress, Orasor noted, still lying with his paws before him. You do realize that you just left the writing desk behind to sit on the floor. Vin looked up.
And?
The purpose of a writing desk is, well, writing.
But my papers are all over here.
Papers can be moved, I believe. If they prove too heavy, you could always burn pewter to give yourself more strength.
I love this so much. This interaction just so funny. Like, and also, okay,
the dry humor of it.
Yeah, the dry humor of it, but also, let's not forget. It's Orasor. Like, that's not Orasor. Like, that's not his character, is it? He's not funny. Like, I don't know. This is a funnier Condra. Where did he get a sense of humor? I don't know. You got a funny bone. Ha 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 ha. In the dog, he found a funny bone. But seriously, like, I was. This makes me suspicious, but again, makes me like him. Whoever he is. I
agree.
Yeah. Good doggo.
But the Orasor that Vin characterized from the beginning was one as being challenging and very much disliking her. And if you're making witty comments and dry humor, it could be out of character.
Could be out of character, but it could also just be that she's grown on him. I don't know.
Yeah, or he's growing as a person.
Yeah.
Vin eyed his amused face as she inked the nib of her pen.
Well, at least he's displaying something other than his dislike of me. That point as well was like, oh, Vin, you maybe you're not noticing the difference. Like that should make you wonder. But okay, the floor is more comfortable.
If you say so, mistress, I will believe it to be true. She hesitated, trying to determine if he was still mocking her.
Blasted dog's face. Too hard to read.
With a sigh, she leaned down and began to write out the first word. She had to make each line precisely so that the ink didn't smudge, and she had to pause often to sound out words and find the right letters. She'd barely written a couple of sentences before a knock came at her door. She looked up with a frown. Who was bothering her? That was such an irritable, wonderful, endearing moment.
Yeah, she's like, excuse me, I'm busy doing, and she's so concentrated, she's so focused on her writing, and they're just like, oh, gosh darn. Come in.
She heard a door open in the other room, and Ellen's voice called out. Vin?
In here? Why did you knock?
Well, you might have been changing.
So?
2 years in privacy is still a strange concept to you.
Well, I did.
For the briefest flash of a moment, she thought he was someone else. Her instincts kicked in before her brain, and she reflexively dropped the pen, jumping up and flaring pewter. Then she stopped. Loved that response. Great.
It was great. At first I was like, what's happening? Oh, damn. The fact that she stands up like, who is this? And she, like I said, it just reminds me of a cat. Just like,
yeah.
Oh, or a dog. It just that is exactly it. Her instincts just kicks in like, whoa, 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 whoa. The voice, everything is telling me this is okay, but no, the way it looks, the scent.
That much of a change, eh? Ellen asked, holding out his arms so she could get a better look at his outfit. Vin put a hand to her chest, so shocked that she stepped right on one of her stacks. It was Ellen, but it wasn't. The brilliant white outfit with its sharp lines and firm figure looked so different from his normal loose jacket and trousers. He seemed more commanding, more regal. Interesting
note between our editions. Yours kept saying outfit. Mine says costume.
Interesting. Because costume is more appropriate for the way that Tindwell views Ellen.
And Ellen views himself.
Exactly.
Because it's remember, he was like, it's a deception. So it's a costume, it's performing it's a disguise is another word that could be used. A uniform makes sense, but yeah, interesting difference. I think saying outfit is much more subtle. I would have preferred outfit. So
yeah, I have no strong opinion. But it is noteworthy.
You cut your hair,
she said, walking around him slowly, studying the outfit. Tindwell's idea. What do you think?
Less for people to grab onto in a fight.
Ellen smiled. Is that all you think about? And that is such a Vin. I loved it.
Yeah. There's so much Vin here, actually, just thinking of the next few, her response late just now.
Is that all you think about?
No.
Vin said, absently reaching up to tug his cape. It came free easily, and she nodded approvingly. Mist cloaks were the same. Ellen wouldn't have to worry about someone grabbing his cape in a fight. She stepped back, arms folded.
Does this mean I can cut my hair too?
Ellen paused only briefly. You're always free to do what you want, Vin, but I kind of think it's pretty longer.
It stays then.
You're willing to put yourself in danger because he thinks you're pretty that way?
Yeah. Look, you can tie it up, but that's also something that can get held on to. But it did make me think of Vin like cutting her hair just as short as Ellen's, if we're gonna be that practical. And I was just like, yeah, no. It's fine.
Yeah. Anyway, you approve?
Definitely. You look like a king.
Though she suspected a part of her would miss the tangle-haired, disheveled Ellen, there had been something endearing about that mixture of earnest competence and distracted inattention. Good, because I think we're going to need the advantage. A messenger just He trailed off, looking over her stacks of paper. Vin, were you doing research? Vin flushed.
I was just looking through the logbook, trying to find references to the deepness.
You were! Ellen stepped forward excitedly. To her chagrin, he quickly located the paper with her fledgling notes on it. He held the paper up, then looked over at her. Did you write this?
Yes.
Your penmanship is beautiful. Why didn't you tell me you could write like this?
Didn't you say something about a messenger?
Ellen put the sheet back down, looking oddly like a proud parent. Right. A messenger from my father's army has arrived. I'm making him wait for a bit. It didn't seem wise to appear too eager, but we should probably go meet with him. Vin nodded, waving to Orasur. The Khandra rose and padded to her side, and the three of them left her quarters. That was one nice thing about books and notes. Those could always wait for another time. That line felt important to me, that last line.
Something... Did that worry you?
So ominous.
Yeah.
So ominous.
And what did her notes say? So, look, ominous is who's looking at the notes, spies, what. We could, if we want to spin this nicely, could be like, oh, Sazed finds it, but I don't think Sazed would just show up in her rooms. I don't know.
I don't have an issue with people knowing the contents of the logbook. I mean, I arguably think it should be like in libraries and museums and studied personally. I just made a connection between this and the epigraph. Okay, I want to explain why I think it's ominous, but you make your connection now before you forget it.
Okay, the connection is, if only the terrorist religion, so that they're talking about hadn't spread to other people. The fact is that we were just talking about this message spreading to other people. The fact that you were talking about it made me make the connection. So you, like you said, you have no problem with it spreading. You want people to know about the logbook, but the
as
thing
a historical artifact.
Yeah. But the thing is, we've got that kind of warning from the epigraph where it's like, if only that hadn't happened. So for me, that makes it ominous. That makes it ominous. The connection to the epigraph. That somehow people finding out would be a problem. But please go on about your ominous feeling.
For me, it's ominous because there's something about putting off the inevitable or waiting too long or forgetting or, very much the keeper mindset of so much has been lost to time. So don't get distracted. Distraction is a bad thing. And that is why this is ominous, because she is just on the cusp of something so important.
And she says that they could always wait for another time. It's like they actually can't.
Right.
So yes, the pages can wait. Yeah, the pages can wait, but the actual issue at hand is not something that can wait. So I agree with you on that. It's like, sure, your pages can be there, but hello, the deepness is not just in the pages.
Yeah. They found the messenger waiting in the third floor venture atrium. Vin and Ellen walked in and she stopped immediately. It was him, the Watcher.
That was quite a reveal for me. I did not see it coming. I was just busy reading and then I just laughed to myself and I was like, and Dorkus had just said in the previous chapter, we haven't seen the Watcher in a while. Like, well, there he is, right here on cue.
Yep.
But definitely not how I expected to see him next.
Yeah, I did not expect him here. And part one of why I dislike him is he appears to be Straff's man.
Yeah,
and
I get
that. I don't have a problem with people being Straff's man. I have a problem with what he was saying in previous chapters and what he will continue to double down on in this chapter regarding playing these games. There's something a touch hypocritical. Now, we don't know what his secret agenda is, because I kind of don't think he's really Straff's man.
Exactly. Vin doesn't either.
Yeah, but this is one element, and we'll get into the other elements as we go on, as to why I kind of don't like him. Ellen stepped forward to meet the man, and Vin grabbed his arm.
Wait!
Ellen turned confused.
If that man has Atium,
Vin thought with a stab of panic.
Elend is dead. We're all dead.
The Watcher stood quietly. He didn't look much like a messenger or courier. He wore all black, even a pair of black gloves, with trousers and a silken shirt, and no cloak or cape. She remembered that face. It was him.
But if he'd wanted to kill Elend, he could have done so already.
The thought frightened her, yet she had to admit it was true. What? Ellen asked, standing in the doorway with her.
Be careful. This is no simple messenger. That man is Mistborn.
Ellen frowned. He turned back toward the Watcher, who stood quietly, clasping his hands behind his back, looking confident. Yes, he was Mistborn. Only a man such as he could walk into an enemy palace completely surrounded by guards and not be the slightest bit unsettled. All right, Ellen said, finally stepping into the room. Straff's man, you bring a message for me? And this is Ellen trying to be kingly.
Mm-hmm. It's okay. I think it works.
Yeah.
It's not overwhelmingly, intimidating or whatever, but he comes in with confidence. He's just been told this guy's a Mistborn, and he's just like, okay. And he takes it on. He doesn't go, oh, bring the guards and the haze killers and whatever. He doesn't do that. He knows he's got Vin there, and he confronts it. I think it's good for you.
Yeah, and this is essentially a diplomatic mission. No huge need to jump right to murder, assassination.
And I'm sorry, but the way that the cockiness that this man has, I was like, Kelsia. He's very much like Kelsia, okay? So I'm sorry that Brandon Sanderson is pressing my buttons, okay? He knows exactly which ones to press, and he got that one. So it's like, oh, look at this cockiness that this man has. And the way that Vin appreciates it as well, that a man like this would come into a palace surrounded by enemies. That just made me think of literally of Kelsia just going to Critic Shaw. Sorry.
Not a message, Your Majesty. My name is Zane, and I am something of an ambassador. Your father was very pleased to receive your invitation for an alliance. He's glad that you are finally seeing reason. Vin studied the Watcher, this Zane. What was his game? Why come himself? Why reveal who he was? Ellen nodded, keeping a distance from Zane. 2 armies, camped outside my door. Well, that's not the kind of thing I can ignore. I'd like to meet with my father and discuss possibilities for the future. I think he would enjoy that. It has been some time since he saw you, and he has long regretted your falling out. You are, after all, his only son. Also, where did Straff get another Mistborn? And does Ellen have any Mistborn besides Vin?
Yeah, exactly. Like, Vin should be, she's excited about, we'll get there, about sparring with the Mistborn and things like that. But it's like, look, we know they're rare, but did none of the remaining houses have anyone? Like, who else is she training with? Just Ham as even just a misting?
Yeah.
Well, I think that there have to be some.
Yeah. It's been hard on both of us. Perhaps we could set up a tent in which to meet outside the city. I'm afraid that won't be possible. His Majesty rightly fears assassins. If you wish to speak with him, he'd be happy to host you at his tent in the Venture Camp. Ellen frowned. Now, I don't think that makes much sense. If he fears assassins, shouldn't I? And what Vin must be thinking, because he's an assassin. Well, he appears to be. He certainly hasn't actually assassinated anyone yet, as far as we know, but he could. He could.
Yeah, he definitely could. He would be the one that you'd send.
Yeah. I'm certain he could protect you in his own camp, Your Majesty. You have nothing to fear from Set's assassins there. Oh, that dialogue. That is good dialogue.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, yeah, of course, Set's assassins. What about Straff's? Guys, it's not just a falling out. They didn't just have a bit of a row and Ellen slammed his door and it was like, you're ruining my life. No, Straff was going to kill him, okay? His only son. Like, yes, we're all just going to pretend. I guess everyone is now pretending the way that Ellen response here. Well, he's just like, oh, okay, I guess we're going to pretend that you don't want to kill me either. That we're just, because everybody else thinks, oh, Straff would never kill his own son. Oh, just play along.
You have nothing to fear from Set's assassins there. I see. I'm afraid that His Majesty was quite firm on this point. You are the one who is eager for an alliance. If you wish a meeting, you will have to come to him. Elend glanced at Vin. She continued to watch Zane. The man met her eyes and spoke. I have heard reports of the beautiful Mistborn who accompanies the Venturer. She who slew the Lord Ruler and was trained by the survivor himself. There was silence in the room for a moment. Elend finally spoke. What?
Sorry, that was, I don't know, that was awkward. Because it's just so, he's just complimented her and like they're staring at each other. They are, it was magnetic for me. They are staring at each other.
Tell my father that I will consider his offer. Zane finally turned away from Vin. His Majesty was hoping for us to set a date and time, Your Majesty. I will send another message when I have made my decision, Elend said. Very well, Zane said, bowing slightly, though he used the move to catch Vin's eyes once again. Then he nodded once to Elend and let the guards escort him away. So Elend held his ground. That's decent of him.
Yep.
Smart move.
And he did notice
the eyes.
The eyes, like the fact that he's just basically gawking at, staring at Vin. Like it's rude to stare at someone else while you're talking to someone. You know what I'm saying? Like, you should be making eye contact with the person you're talking to. That's kind of how humans work. But okay.
I agree.
It was creepy and was kind of, yeah, I was there for it though.
And I do not like this budding romance between the two of them.
Yeah, I don't like it, but
right in front of Elend?
Yeah, well, she can't help it. You can't help this sort of thing. And I don't know if she knows she likes it. I don't know. It's for her. No. It's more dangerous. But he definitely is into her.
Oh, absolutely.
Beautiful Mistborn. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't like it.
Sorry,
but I'm enjoying not liking it.
Yeah. I'm enjoying liking it.
Look, I don't judge you for liking the Watcher.
You just understand. It's just my feminine qualities coming to the fore.
Yeah, no, he's the new mysterious, powerful figure. I get it.
And he understands her, and he's flirty, and he's a what do you call it? A bad boy. Woohoo.
In the cold mist of early evening, Vin waited on the short wall of Keep Venture, Orasur sitting at her side. The mists were quiet. Her thoughts were far less serene.
Who else would he work for? Of course he's one of Straff's men.
That explained many things. It had been quite a while since their last encounter. Vin had begun to think that she wouldn't see the Watcher again. Would they spar more? Vin tried to suppress her eagerness, tried to tell herself that she simply wanted to find this Watcher because of the threat he posed. But the thrill of another fight in the mists, another chance to test her abilities against a Mistborn, made her tense with anticipation.
Anticipation?
She didn't know him, and she certainly didn't trust him. That only made the prospect of a fight all the more exciting. Why are we waiting here, mistress?
We're just on patrol, watching for assassins or spies, just like every night.
Do you command me to believe you, mistress? Vin shot him a flat stare.
Believe as you wish, Condra.
Very well. Why did you not tell the king that you've been sparring with this Zane? Another reason why I don't like Zane.
Because it's like been lying to him?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and why does she feel compelled to lie? What's this weird... She feels like, oh no, this is not important to tell him. She doesn't... Look, she's not consciously saying, oh, I won't tell him because I like him. You know, she's not doing that. But I think it indicates she's curious about him, and she feels a bit... She wants to keep it private. I don't know. I remember we were kind of like, she's strange because she just keeps secrets because that's her instinct.
Yeah. But this is a secret of consequence.
Yeah, it really is of consequence. It's literally, he is something we can use, Ellen, because like, you need to tell Ellen that, because he's Straff's man, but you know that his loyalties can be shifted.
Yeah. But and I appreciate that she's still figuring things out.
Yeah. Confusing, okay.
Vin turned back toward the dark mists.
Assassins and Alamenters are my concern, not Ellen's. No need to worry him yet. He has enough troubles at the moment.
That's such cope.
Yeah, right. I think Orasur knows it's cope.
Orasur sat back on his haunches. I see.
You don't believe I'm right?
I believe as I wish. Isn't that what you commanded me, mistress?
Whatever,
Vin said. Her bronze was on, and she had to try very hard not to think about the mist spirit. She could feel it waiting in the darkness to her right. She didn't look toward it. Noteworthy, she didn't say, I command you to not believe as you wish.
Mm-hmm.
So Orasur can technically still believe as he wishes, which gives him more opportunity to become his own person.
Yeah. It's actually taken out a line of code for him, you know, like a that actually, that can have far-reaching consequences, because she didn't say believe as you wish with regard to this. She said believe as you wish, Condor. And it's like, that's magic.
Yep. It's almost like the genie and wishes. Mm-hmm. And if you don't form your wish to the letter, they will find a way to mess with it.
Ooh, I hope that you're right with this. That would be so cool.
I wish I had $1 million. Great, I have changed the past. Therefore, you used to have $1 million.
Dad. Right now. The logbook never did mention what became of that spirit. It nearly killed one of the hero's companions. After that, there was barely a mention of it. Problems for another night,
she thought, as another source of allomancy appeared to her bronze senses, a stronger, more familiar source. Zane. Vin hopped up onto the battlements, nodded farewell to Orasur, then jumped out into the night. Wait. Also noteworthy, that spirit is still there.
Yeah. It's just, she can see, she knows exactly it's to her right. She's not paying attention to it. If she doesn't think about it, what, does that not attract it?
Yeah, we don't know if Alendi was able to sense it in the way that Vin is. So in a way, Vin might have an added layer of protection against it.
That she can anticipate it.
Anticipate it. She should, do the reverse. She should keep an eye on it and see if it goes anywhere. Follow it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Don't just ignore it. Don't get close to it again by any means, but see if it goes anywhere, if it does anything.
Investigate. But just listen, she's just curious about the new guy on the block, okay? You don't have time for that.
Zane. Vin hopped up onto the battlements, nodded farewell to Orasur, then jumped out into the night. Mist twisted in the sky, different breezes forming silent streams of white like rivers in the air. Vin skimmed them, burst through them, and rode them like a bouncing stone cast upon the waters. She quickly reached the place where she and Zane had last parted, the lonely, abandoned street. He waited in the center, still wearing black. Vin dropped to the cobbles before him in a flurry of mist-cloaked tassels. She stood up straight.
He never wears a cloak. Why is that?
The two stood opposite one another for a few silent moments. Zane had to know of her questions, but he offered no introduction, greeting, or explanation. Eventually, he reached into a pocket and pulled out a coin. He tossed it to the street between them and it bounced, metal ringing against stone, and came to a stop. He jumped into the air, Vin did likewise, both pushing against the coin. Their separate weights nearly canceled each other out, and they shot up and back like the two arms of a V.
So cool!
Yep. We got a fight scene now?
Yeah, it's popping off, guys. I was excited when this. I was like, let's go. And that's how they're going to communicate instead of talking. We're just going to start this fight out.
Zane spun, throwing a coin behind him. It slammed against the side of a building, and he pushed, throwing himself toward Vin. Suddenly, she felt a force slam against her coin pouch, threatening to toss her back down to the ground.
What is the game tonight, Zane?
She thought, even as she yanked the tie on her pouch, dropping it free from her belt. She pushed against it, and it shot downward, forced by her weight. When it hit the ground, Vin had the better upward force. She was pushing against the pouch from directly above, while Zane was only pushing from the side. Vin lurched upward, streaking past Zane in the cool night air, then threw her weight against the coins in his own pocket. Zane began to drop. However, he grabbed the coins, keeping them from ripping free, and pushed down on her pouch. He froze in the air, Vin pushing him from above, his own push forcing him upward, and because he stopped, Vin's push suddenly threw her backward.
Right, so this, you know what, this interaction I was viewing a lot of the time, it's actually like they are touching each other, okay? Because they're kind of pulling on each other's weight, okay? And that is quite an intimate sort of thing that's going on. I don't know, I enjoyed it, okay? They're kind of pulling, it's as if they're pulling each other's hands.
This is a very intimate fight.
Yeah, that's what I was enjoying about it. It's quite a flirtation.
Yeah, that's what I'm hating about it.
Yeah, because it feels wrong. It feels like this shouldn't be happening. Yeah, it's very entertaining. That's all I'm saying.
Asterisk that for when we get to some stuff that he actually does say during the fight. Yeah, as far as shouldn't be happening. Vin let go of Zane and allowed herself to drop. Zane, however, didn't let himself fall. He pushed his body back up into the air, then began to bound away, never letting his feet touch rooftops or cobblestones.
He tried to force me to the ground. First one to fall loses. Is that it?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, I like that game.
Yeah, that's what was very exciting about this as well. There's no talking as of yet. They're figuring out the game. That is a very, as well, like it's like dancing. It's a communication that is physical, and that is the intimacy is there, and the flirtation is there.
Still tumbling, Vin spun herself in the air. She retrieved her coin pouch with a careful pull, then threw it down toward the ground and pushed herself upward. She pulled the pouch back into her hand, even as she flew, then jumped after Zane, pushing recklessly through the night, trying to catch up. In the darkness, Luthadel seemed cleaner than it did during the day. She couldn't see the ash-stained buildings, the dark refineries, the haze of smoke from the forges. Around her, the empty keeps of the old high nobility watched like silent monoliths. Some of the majestic buildings had been given to lesser nobles, and others had become government offices. The rest, after being plundered at Ellen's command, lay unused, their stained glass windows dark, their vaultings, statues, and murals ignored. Vin wasn't certain if Zane purposefully headed to keep hasting, or if she simply caught up to him there. Either way, the enormous structure loomed as Zane noticed her proximity and turned, throwing a handful of coins at her. I do like that bit of exposition. That was good to know.
Yeah, good to know what has happened with the rest of the nobility, the houses, and that also makes it more understandable why Ellen has been a bit more tolerable to the Scar, because he allowed plundering of the noble houses, some of them. So that's a good thing. Kind of sates them. Like, listen, he didn't just keep wealth for himself and for the nobleman. And also, is he just familiar with keep hasting? I don't know. Zane?
Entirely possible. Also, this had me wondering where the Lacals went. Like, what happened to Ellen's noble friends?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what do they do?
But anyway, that was like a tertiary thought to what's happening here.
Action! Yeah.
Vin pushed against them tentatively. Sure enough, as soon as she touched them, Zane flared steel and increased his push. If she'd been pushing hard, the force of his attack would have thrown her backward. As it was, she was able to deflect the coins to her sides. Zane immediately pushed against her coin pouch again, throwing himself upward along one of Keep Hastings' walls. Vin was ready for this move as well. Flaring pewter, she grabbed the pouch in a two-handed grip and ripped it in half. Coins sprayed beneath her, shooting toward the ground under the force of Zane's push. She selected one and pushed herself, gaining lift as soon as it hit the ground. She spun facing upward, her tin-enhanced ears hearing a shower of metal hit the stones far below. She'd still have access to the coins, but she didn't have to carry them on her body. She shot up toward Zane, one of the keep's outer towers looming in the mists to her left. Keep Hastings was one of the finest in the city. It had a large tower at the center, tall, imposing, wide, with a ballroom at the very top. It also had 6 smaller towers rising equidistant around the central structure, each one connected to it by a thick wall. It was an elegant, majestic building. She suspected that Zane had sought it out for that reason. Vin watched him now.
Also we have mention of a ballroom. So it's like they're dancing. This is where they go. This is the spot.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I love that observation.
Mm-hmm. So, and he chose it. He chose this elegant building for them to have their little dalliance.
Vin watched him now, his push losing power as he got too far from the coin anchor. He spun directly above her, a dark figure against a shifting sky of mist, still well below the top of the wall. Vin yanked sharply on several coins below, pulling them into the air in case she needed them. Zane plummeted toward her. Vin reflexively pushed against the coins in his pocket, then realized that was probably what he'd wanted. It gave him lift while forcing her down. She let go as she fell, and as soon as she passed the group of coins, she'd pulled into the air. She'd pulled on one, bringing it into her hands, then pushed on another, sending it sideways into the wall. Ooh, that's a lot. It is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, just as for the amount of things that I can keep in my head at once, this is a lot. It's
hard to keep track of where everybody is.
Yeah.
Visually, it would take me a while to map this out, to be like, okay, she's doing this, then she's doing this, then she's doing this. But it's action packed, and I can keep.
It's exciting to be certain.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting. The fact that it's hard to keep track of makes it exciting.
Yeah, but if you asked me to really know what I've just read,
yeah,
I can't. I know that exciting stuff is happening, and that's not a problem with the writing. It's as far as I can tell, well written. It's just me on this.
Miss Burning Hard.
Yeah. Vin shot to the side. Zane whooshed by her in the air, his passing churning the mists. He soon bobbed back up, probably using a coin from below, and flung a double handful of coins straight at her. Vin spun again, deflecting the coins. They shot around her, and she heard several pling against something in the mists behind her. Another wall. She and Zane were sparring between a pair of the keep's outer towers. There was an angled wall to either side of them, with the central tower a short distance in front of them. They were fighting near the tip of an open-bottomed triangle of stone walls. Zane shot toward her. Vin reached out to throw her weight against him, but realized with a start that he was no longer carrying any coins. He was pushing on something behind him, though, the same coin Vin had slammed against the wall with her weight. She pushed herself upward, trying to get out of the way, but he angled upward as well. Zane crashed into her, and they began to fall. As they spun together, Zane grabbed her by the upper arms, holding his face close to hers. He didn't seem angry or even very forceful. He merely seemed calm.
That's hot. Sorry. Because he's just so exciting. There's just Vin, it is so exciting. It's exhilarating because Vin loves doing this. Vin loves Miss Spawning, right? She's doing what she loves and falling and up and down and all of this very exciting stuff. And then she sees this Chad Zane because he's falling and in the middle of the sparring match with her, and he's so calm. That's great.
This is probably one of the most cinematic moments in the book so far, to be certain. How to word this? This is such a teen moment, I think.
Yeah, it is.
This is something I could totally expect to see if I went to see The Hunger Games or Twilight or something of that genre.
It's YA. Yeah, it's young adult fiction. Yeah.
So
it's CW as well. You could see it in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not a pejorative. It's still good. I enjoy some CW
I agree.
shows.
It's definitely not a pejorative. There's an audience for it. But it's just like glaring in what it is. And this is what we are, Vin, he said quietly. Wind and mist whipping around them as they fell, the tassels of Vin's mist cloak writhing in the air around Zane. Why do you play their games? Why do you let them control you? Okay.
Okay. So also, come on, Dorkus. That is it's a callback to Calcia. This is who you are, Vin, when he gives her the cloak. But
I do like that.
But then again, he gives her the cloak. This guy doesn't even have a cloak. So it's like, go away from what Calcia gave you. The Calcia told you you're Mistborn, and Mistborn is Mistcloak, right? That's what he said. But this guy doesn't even wear a Mistcloak. He's even outside of what a Mistborn is. Which makes him so interesting.
So, look, the thing that I really disliked here, though, is, as far as we're aware at this point, yes, he's almost certainly working on his own agenda, but by all appearances, he is playing the games too, but for Strath. So there's some degree of hypocrisy here that I'm sensing that I just really don't like.
He's definitely coping for himself. He thinks that, okay, I'm just playing by their rules for my own gain, therefore I'm fine. Therefore, I'm not actually being controlled by them. The fact is, you are still part of their game. Just because you are like, I'm not part of your game, doesn't mean you're not a piece on the chessboard. You know, he's being used. Just because you know it doesn't mean you're suddenly outside of it. So yeah, there is a bit of hypocrisy there, and I would say cope with his hypocrisy. He's explained it away for himself.
Yeah. Vin placed her hand lightly against Zane's chest, then pushed on the coin that had been in her palm. The force of the push lurched her free of his grip, flipping him up and backward. She caught herself a few feet from the ground, pushing against fallen coins, throwing herself upward again. She passed Zane in the night and saw a smile on his face as he fell. I will say I liked that move. Very good, Vin.
Vin's good. And I guess you see, look at you. You're smiling too, Dorkus. You're smiling at her move. And she did land up actually touching his chest. And she put it lightly. Oh, God, it's so cute.
She passed Zane in the night and saw a smile on his face as he fell. Vin reached downward, locking onto the blue lines extending toward the ground far below, then flared iron and pulled against all of them at once. Blue lines zipped around her, the coins rising and shooting past the surprised Zane. She pulled a few choice coins into her hands.
Let's see if you can stay in the end now,
Vin thought with a smile. Pushing outward, spraying the other coins away into the night, Zane continued to fall. Vin began to fall as well. She threw a coin to each side, then pushed. The coins shot into the mists, flying toward the stone walls. They slapped against the stone, and Vin lurched to a halt in the air. She pushed hard, holding herself in place, anticipating a pull from below.
If he pulls, I pull too. We both fall, and I keep the coins between us in the air. He'll hit the ground first.
A coin shot past her into the air.
What? Where did he get that?
She'd been sure that she'd pushed away every coin below. The coin arced upward through the mists, trailing a blue line visible to her Alamancer's eyes. It crested the top of the wall to her right. Vin glanced down just in time to see Zane slow, then lurch upward, pulling on the coin that was now held in place atop the wall by the stone railing. He passed her with a self-satisfied look on his face.
Show off.
Vin let go of the coin to her left while still pushing to her right. She lurched to the left, nearly colliding with the wall before she threw another coin at it. She pushed on this one, throwing herself upward and to the right. Yet another coin sent her back upward to the left, and she continued to bounce between the walls back and forth until she crested the top.
That's cool. She's kind of, I'm just thinking Mistborn game. The game mechanics of a Mistborn game would be so much fun.
So fun. She smiled as she twisted in the air. Zane, hovering in the air above the wall's top, nodded appreciatively as she passed. She noticed that he'd grabbed a few of her discarded coins.
Time for a little attack myself.
She slammed a push against the coins in Zane's hand, and they shot her upward, but Zane was still pushing against the coin on the wall top below, so he didn't fall. Instead, he hung in the air between the two forces, his own push forcing him upward, Vin's push forcing him downward. Vin heard him grunt in exertion, and she pushed harder. She was so focused that she barely saw him open his other hand and push a coin up toward her. She reached out to push against it, but fortunately his aim was off, and the coin missed her by a few inches. Or perhaps it didn't. Immediately, the coin zipped back downward and hit her in the back. Zane pulled on it forcefully, and the bit of metal dug into Vin's skin. She gasped, flaring pewter to keep the coin from cutting through her. Now, I was actually a little bit scared there.
I was scared too. I was like, oh, whoa, this is going wrong now. This is, okay, Zane is done playing with her, and shit's just got real.
Yeah, it's turning painful now.
Mm-hmm.
Zane didn't relent. Vin gritted her teeth, but he weighed much more than she did. She inched down toward him in the night, her push straining to keep the two of them apart, the coin digging painfully into her back. Never get into a raw pushing match, Vin. You don't weigh enough. You'll lose every time. Oh, I missed doing that voice.
Kelsia. And that is exactly what I'm thinking here. It's like if Kelsia she had fun with Kelsia, sparring with Kelsia when she was learning. And now this is like the romance version. The crush version. So all very exciting.
Yes.
And I'm waiting for like her to have a bent coin from this. And you know, like that
collection.
Yeah.
Never get into a raw pushing match, Vin, Kelsier had warned her. You don't weigh enough. You'll lose every time. She stopped, pushing on the coin in Zane's hand. She fell immediately, pulled by the coin on her back. She pushed on it slightly, giving herself a little leverage, then threw her final coin to the side. It hit at the last moment, and Vin's push scooted her out from between Zane and his coin. Zane's coin snapped him in the chest, and he grunted. He had obviously been trying to get Vin to collide with him again. Vin smiled, then pulled against the coin in Zane's hand.
Give him what he wants, I guess.
He turned in time to see her slam feet first into him. Nice, Vin.
Yeah, Vin's not playing around, boys.
He turned in time to see her slam feet first into him. Vin spun, feeling him crumple beneath her. She exulted in the victory, spinning in the air above the wall walk. Then she noticed something. Several faint lines of blue disappearing into the distance. Zane had pushed all of their coins away. Desperate, Vin grabbed one of the coins and pulled it back. Too late. She searched frantically for a closer source of metal, but all was stone or wood. Disoriented, she hit the stone wall walk, tumbling amid her mist cloak until she came to a halt beside the wall's stone railing. She shook her head and flared tin, clearing her vision with a flash of pain and other senses. Surely Zane hadn't fared better. He must have fallen as... Zane hung a few feet away. He'd found a coin. Vin couldn't fathom how, and was pushing against it below him. But he didn't shoot away. He hovered a few feet above the wall top, still in a half-tumble from Vin's kick.
So cool. That was really cool. And now the thing is, now this is impressive what he's doing here. So that makes
this is
more
very
likable.
Impressive.
Yeah, and also just note what Vin notices about him physically. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And she's totally going to be practicing what she learns here tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, it just makes me wonder, did we have it was this keep that Vin like went walking with Elend, like arm in arm. That was where it was this place as well, wasn't it?
I don't remember. I'd have to go back and check.
I'm thinking,
but I know
of
the scene
walks.
you're referring to.
Yeah,
with the gold ring. Let's just enjoy this last night or something.
Yeah, it was just they went for a walk, and then he had to go and meet his friends, and she went and followed him, the towers and all of that. That's what's making me think of it. So yeah, that's making me think that there's mirroring going on here.
Yeah. As Vin watched, Zane rotated slowly in the air, hand outstretched beneath him, twisting like a skilled acrobat on a pole. There was a look of intense concentration on his face, and his muscles, all of them, arms, face, chest, were taut. He turned in the air until he was facing her. Is that thirsty, Vin?
Listen, she just noticed it, okay? It's not thirsty Vin, it's just human Vin. And
Fair.
but it was great to have that vision. Thanks.
Vin.
But Ryan knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing with this, okay?
Yes, he does. Vin watched with awe. It was possible to push slightly against a coin, regulating the amount of force with which one was thrown backward. It was incredibly difficult, so difficult that even Kelsier had struggled with it. Most of the time, Mistborn simply used short bursts. When Vin fell, for instance, she slowed herself by throwing a coin and pushing against it briefly, but powerfully, to counteract her momentum. She'd never seen an Allomancer with as much control as Zane. His ability to push slightly against that coin would be of little use in a fight. It obviously took too much concentration, yet there was a grace to it, a beauty to his movements that implied something Vin herself had felt. Allomancy wasn't just about fighting and killing. It was about skill and grace. It was something beautiful.
You see, oh, so good. You see that's also what is seducing Vin here, right? It's that it's somebody that can do what she does and also do it better. So it's very easy to be taken by that.
Yeah, and this did remind me of her observation of Kelsier during the Inquisitor fight and how that was his specialty.
Yeah, the pushing and pulling. Yeah, exactly.
Also, did you ever read Animorphs as a kid?
No.
No, interesting. Well, the premise is this alien comes to Earth and grants these kids this ability to turn into animals because of an alien invasion. And one of the kids, I think it was Cassie, has this unique ability, sort of, when she transforms, in that she does so in a beautiful and graceful way, more so than anyone else can. And it appears that of all of the people that can learn this skill of turning into animals, a handful of them have this natural, innate ability to make their transformations appear beautiful. So that's something that my mind went to as I read that as well.
He can allomance beautifully.
Yeah. Zane rotated until he was upright, standing in a gentlemanly posture. Then he dropped to the wall walk, his feet slapping quietly against the stones. He regarded Vin, who still lay there, with a look that lacked contempt. Lacked contempt. Important.
Yeah. Vin has essentially lost. She got a victory and then she fell. Oopsie, that's a bit embarrassing. So she's expecting contempt.
Yes. You are very skilled and quite powerful. He was tall, impressive.
Like, Kelsier, why did you come to the palace today?
She asked, climbing to her feet. To see how they treated you. Tell me, Vin, what is it about Mistborn that makes us, despite our powers, so willing to act as slaves to others?
Slaves? I'm no slave.
Zane shook his head. They use you, Vin.
Sometimes it's good to be useful.
Those words are spoken of insecurity. Vin eyed him. Well, okay, see, more points against the Watcher. He is wrong. He is just wrong.
She wants to be useful. That's not them using her. She's being useful to them because she cares about them.
And she wants to be, and they are doing good. Vin Elend has good ideas. They are doing good things or trying to do good things, and they are her family and her friends. He's just wrong.
Yeah, his perspective is warped. His perspective is warped, and he can be wrong, but also interesting and exciting. That's the thing.
Sure.
Just because he's wrong doesn't make him less sexy and less attractive. It doesn't matter. The fact that he's wrong makes you also want to challenge him, and you want, and the fact that he has a different point of view makes it a challenge. And we know that Vin also does like a challenge, so it's endearing actually, because it's like, oh,
he's
you're
a bad
wrong.
Boy.
Yeah, he's a bad boy. I'm sorry. It's just he's wrong about these things, and also maybe he needs to learn certain lessons about caring about people. He thinks he's pretty cool, but he's not.
I just need him to stop trying to corrupt Vin.
I don't think Vin knows where she's at. I think Vin's learned certain lessons. I think she won't be corrupted by him. Honestly, I would be disappointed if she decided to think she was being used. Maybe in a moment of anger, she would lash out and say that without meaning it. I can see that happening, but I don't see her believing she's being used. But I do see her being curious about this guy, and being corrupted in that way, being curious about him in that way, and being literally just the word just taken by him. Like, oh, he's just so curious, and I don't think she realizes she's attracted to him. I don't think she understands that.
I agree.
I'm the only one here that knows that.
I definitely think that he is infatuated with her. Might be crushing on her.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dare I say it, obsessed with her?
Yeah, maybe? He's got this, and he's got an idea of her, like, definitely thinks about her a lot. I wanted to see how they treat you. You know, like he's curious about her as well. And
I think he's putting some sort of idea or concept onto her in a way that isn't fair to her.
Exactly. He's decided they're using her. He doesn't think about the fact that, no, actually she cares about them. Oh, they can't care. She can't care about them. Oh, they're just manipulating her. The things that he says, that those words are set up for insecurity. You don't know me. Don't come and act that way. You don't know me. But he's got he thinks he knows her. Because I suppose it is a lonely existence. He's an outsider even for a Mistborn, because he doesn't wear a cloak. I think he's like, look at me, I'm such a bad boy.
Edgy boy.
Edgy boy, aren't you? Such an edgy boy. Yeah, so anyway, I'm still excited to see that. Is this like going to be a Twilight thing where we got team Zane and team Ellen?
Never thought I'd find myself on Team Ellen, yet here I am. Vin eyed him.
Where are we at? Sorry. I'm so flustered. Where is he? Like Kelsey, look, also the fact that he's impressive, the way she used the word impressive. Oh God. Anyway.
Those words are spoken of insecurity. Vin eyed him.
Where did you get that coin at the end? There were none nearby.
Zane smiled, then opened his mouth and pulled out a coin. He dropped it to the stones with a pling, then opened her eyes wide.
Metal inside a person's body can't be affected by another Allomancer. That's such an easy trick. Why didn't I think of it? Why didn't Kelsey think of it? That was another moment where... Yeah. That was another moment I laughed out loud, because I was also like, wait, why didn't we think of it? Okay. Maybe we did. I don't know, because we say a lot of things in passing. But it was pretty funny.
Sure, but Vin. Okay, but Vin, don't you dare elevate the Watcher above Kelsier.
Yeah.
Don't you dare.
You know why Kelsier didn't do it? Because coins are gross, maybe.
Okay, well, no, that's just it. It's like, first off, germs, ew. But no, what happens if you have it in your cheek and you get pushed or pulled upon? Like, you can choke on that. Or like it's between your teeth and you get pushed and pulled on, shoved against a wall. You could crack your teeth.
It's a liability. It's something else to keep track of. Yeah.
It's not a bad trick, but I don't think it's like an, oh my God, how did I not think of that kind of trick, personally.
Yeah. But also, just another thing, like, he's talking to her about feelings and stuff, and she's just like, where'd you get the coin? Okay, that's what she's caring about. That's what I mean, that she's not busy. She's just more about, how did you beat me? Because that's what she's focused on. Her prime goal is sparring. The most exciting thing about this is sparring with someone again that is actually better than her, as she says later. Like she that's exciting for her, and it does remind her of Calcia, but there is also the crush thing on top of it. But yeah, her focus is totally on the advantage that this person had. It's not about the emotions. So again, I don't think she understands that she's somewhat curious about this guy in a romantic way.
Gotcha. Zane shook his head. We don't belong with them, Vin. We don't belong in their world. We belong here, in the mists.
I belong with those who love me.
Love you? Tell me, do they understand you, Vin? Can they understand you? And can a man love something he doesn't understand? It's more of, he's just wrong. He's trying to make her insecure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, you aren't loved. You aren't really loved. Like, hey, none of that. You don't have to, like, oh, can a man love something he doesn't understand? It's like, hold on. He understands a lot about her, number one. You don't have to be a person to understand a person. Okay, you don't have to live their life to understand them. But she does, that is an insecurity, or not an insecurity, a weakness that she does have, where she has questioned, can people that aren't misborn understand? She has that question. She has felt that lacking, that loneliness, the fact that she's misborn.
That's why I think it's going to work on her.
Yeah, that's why you're thinking it'll work. But I don't think he can convince her that she's not loved. That would be, look, then again, it's a weakness she has because she's only just decided to accept love recently.
Yes.
He could be undoing this and manipulating her. And I don't like that.
And look, we've heard that people think Spook is creepy. What do people think of this guy? Because he's coming off to me as a bit creepy. Clearly you disagree, Kite, which I love that we disagree on this. But
yeah, he's not creepy, no, but that's probably because he's impressive. You see, there's that whole ratio, and also Vin. The thing is that Vin can stand her own against him, so that also makes it more of it's more sparring and flirty than dangerous from him. There's that, in my opinion, until we got to that point where he was pushing against her back. That was a bit like, ooh. But again, there's this curiosity that makes it kind of sexy. It just works. I'm not creeped out by him. But excellent. Yeah, probably she should be. I don't know if I am by no means the bastion of femininity over here. So people in the chat, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If you disagree, tell me. If you don't like Zane, I guess I'm just basic that way. I know what he's trying to do, at least. That doesn't mean that I'm completely taken by him. So I know what he's trying to do.
I am in no way trying to change your opinion. I hope you don't feel that way.
No, you won't.
Okay, good. He watched her for a moment. When she didn't respond, he nodded to her slightly, then pushed against the coin he had dropped moments before, throwing himself back into the mists. Vin let him go. His words held more weight than he probably understood.
Don't belong in their world.
He couldn't know that she'd been pondering her place, wondering whether she was a noblewoman, assassin, or something else. Okay, but Vin, everyone ponders their place. No, but I get what you're... That's me being funny. Just... Or trying to be.
Trying to cope.
Zane's words meant something important. He felt himself to be an outsider, a little like herself. It was a weakness in him, certainly. Perhaps she could turn him against Straff. His willingness to spar with her, to reveal himself, hinted at that much. She breathed in deeply of the cool, misty air, her heart still beating quickly from the exchange. She felt tired, yet alive, from fighting someone who might actually be better than she was. Standing in the mists atop the wall of an abandoned keep, she decided something. She had to keep sparring with Zane.
It begins. Yeah, but you see how there's still Vin in this, you know?
Mm-hmm.
She notices that he sees himself as an outsider, and it's a weakness in him because she's learned lessons about being an outsider. She's learned lessons about not trusting anyone. Okay, so she's just seeing him as him, and as well, she can use him, which shows a bit more. She's not just completely taken by his words. She's like, oh, cool. So this told me something about you. I can now use this for my purposes. She isn't completely switched around. His words did hit her, but in a personal place, not about just Ellen and all of that. It's more like, yeah, where do I belong in this world? Anyway, that doesn't cancel out all the other lessons I've learned from Calcia and everybody else. So keep it together, Vin.
Please do. Well, I enjoyed recording this episode. I liked the chapter.
Me too. I enjoyed it. Very cinematic.
Yeah. And as we pointed out, very YA.
Yeah.
I think that's everything, yeah?
I think that's it.
Well, thank you all for tuning in. Have a great rest of your week. And we'll see you next week.
Okay, thanks, bye.